Good afternoon. Nayaswami Hriman here, sitting overlooking Port Susan Bay on Camano Island in Washington, state of Washington, north of Seattle. And this broadcast is the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, explained by Paramahansa Yogananda and as edited by his disciple Swami Kriyananda. Today we're on stanza or quatrain number 19. I'll read it first and then we'll listen to Swami Kriyananda sing the verse and give Yogananda's paraphrase. Are you ready? And this delightful herb, whose tender green fledges the river's lip, on which we lean, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen.
Stanza 19. And this delightful herb, whose tender green fledges the river's lip, on which we lean, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen. Paraphrase. Our subtlest perceptions spring not from outside ourselves, in communication with the world around us and with other minds, but from hidden recesses within ourselves. Approach these spinal grottos sensitively, for through them flows the subtle river of all vitality, perceptivity, and joy.
It's interesting, recent verse, perhaps even yesterday's, talks about how we are all connected through consciousness, that thoughts are universally rooted, and encourages us to study the lives and thoughts of great men and women down through history, especially those who have achieved God realization. So this quatrain then, in this quatrain, Omar has us turn inward once again toward the river of life. Leaning on it lightly means to do so sensitively as we withdraw our attention and our life force from the periphery of the body inward to the river of life in the subtle astral spine. In the expanded meaning on this quatrain, Yogananda talks a little bit about the delusions or traps, preoccupations of the different five senses. For example, taste and smell are what we relate to mostly through food, and potentially for some through food greed, eating for taste and smell alone rather than only nourishment. And there are those who are addicted by sight, which is to say the beauties of the world. It can be nature, but it can also be a beautiful face, for example, the beautiful appearance of themselves or other people, perhaps for whom they're jealous of their beauty. And there is also hearing. People love to hear flattery, for example. You can become addicted to being dependent on what people say about you or what you think they may say about you. And you may crave their attention. You may crave their recognition and their flattery. But he said the most powerful sense of all is that which is spread throughout the entire body, through the skin, through the sense of touch, which of course sex is the obvious one, but there's other forms of touch that aren't overtly sexual. And in any case, it is listed among one of humanity's most powerful sense delights. So then he reverses that more in accordance with the quatrain itself. The delightful herb whose tender green fledges the river's lip on which we lean. He's talking about the green herb of inspirations and health. You know, the color green is associated with health. And the health and vitality, the creativity, the inspiration, the subtlety of satisfaction and peace and joy all flow along this river of life within ourselves. And through the doorways of the spinal cerebral energy centers known as the chakras, then each of them have particular gifts to offer us. Coming up the chakras is the gift of peace when we withdraw from attention to the outer world. Then from peace flows wisdom, because when we're withdrawn and non-attached to the body or to the world around us and identified with it, then we have wisdom insights, how to live, for example, what is true. That wisdom then fires within us, in the belly as it were, fires within us the enthusiasm to follow this inner river of life to its source, to follow and seek the truth that shall make us free. And as that river of life ascends, then we reach the heart center, which opens for us and refines for us, once withdrawn from sensory attachments and identification, that feeling nature is much more refined towards subtlety. It can be refined towards the subtlety of truth precepts and truth perceptions. It can be refined towards the subtlety of love without attachment, love without condition, love without expectation. Then we move up into the transit point, the thin neck up into the higher centers. The throat center is when we, as it were, cut off communication entirely with the senses through the power of what is known on the Eightfold Path as pratyahara. Now, before I go any further, the different five senses are governed by each of the first five centers. So smell is the Muladhara chakra at the base, and taste is the Swadhisthana chakra, sacral center, and sight is at the Manipur, the navel center. Touch is here at the Anahata chakra, heart center, and at the Vishuddha chakra here in the neck region of the neck is hearing. And so when these are all purified and we follow the river of life, not out, down, and outward into the world, but withdrawn inward and upward towards consciousness, which is the source of all of the world that we see, then we pass through the narrow isthmus, the narrow strait here in the neck, by which we transcend these five aspects of the visible world. And we enter the samyama, the different states of deep concentration, the ability to merge within the object of concentration, and then finally complete transcendence of all vibrational spheres. That's perhaps going a little further than what he mentions here, but nonetheless, during wakefulness, we're compelled, for self-protection, for just all sorts of mundane reasons, we're compelled to identify and protect and affirm the body's needs. During sleep, we withdraw partially into the river of life, but without very much awareness and certainly no control. But we do enjoy sleep, and that's one of the reasons, because the states of happiness, the states of satisfaction, confidence, vitality, inspiration, all derive from, that's what Omar is saying, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen. He's not talking about once lovely lip, some person you haven't met, who their lips. No, it's the divine itself in a myriad of forms, of course. He's not identifying God in any outward form or by any outward name, but lean upon it lightly, because these centers, these energies, and the river of life itself, not only is the source of life, it is, in a sense, independent from what we deem to be our life, our sense of selfhood, our ego. And so it behooves us to approach the inner path, the inner experiences lightly, meaning humbly, with reverence, with a sense of sacredness, with a sense of really privilege, if you want to look at it that way. It's our destiny, certainly, so one should be inwardly self-confident. But nonetheless, he's saying lightly because it's such a rarefied, subtle experience that at first you don't see it. Most people only see or experience the five senses and consider that real. And very demanding and real these are to our body and to our brain. And so to enter this sanctum sanctorum, if you will, to enter this subtle state of being, which is the essence of life, that brings to us life, takes a pure heart. Like in the never-ending story, it was a child who sought to save humanity, or whatever the story was. I don't remember exactly. It's the knight with a pure heart. It always takes a certain innocence or purity of consciousness to actually enter this sacred realm. Those who enter it for the sake of its gifts alone will in the end lose. It is the pride, the ego, before the fall. So Omar in this quatrain is communicating to us the subtle beauty, the superior beauty of the inner reality of life force that dwells within us. Okay, joy and blessings to all of you on this lovely day. We see some sunshine here in the northwest at last, and the snow around us is virtually gone. So be well, be happy, go within.